Is there anything much better than English toffee? Hey y'all, it's April. Thanks for stopping by my crazy creative life. In today's video, I want to make some yummy English toffee, butter toffee. It's kind of the same stuff. My friend Google said that English toffee is primarily used with brown sugar. Butter toffee or Buttercrunch is used with white granulated sugar and sometimes corn syrup. But without the nuts. Enough of that, let's go ahead and jump on into the video. Okay, you want an 8x8 or a 9x9 pan dish. And this one is 8x8. And you can either put aluminum foil in it, parchment paper, or nothing if you don't have anything to put in it. But either way you go, make sure that you kind of butter around it pretty good. I'm going to try to cut the corners so maybe this paper will fit a little better. Let's work smarter, not harder. If at all possible, you want to try to get like a heavy bottom, thick bottom saucepan, because the temperature gets so hot with candy making, it can scorch it easy, and this just helps to, I think it regulates the temperature just a little bit better. So let's go ahead and go over to the oven and get started. To this pot, we want to add 2 sticks of butter or 1 cup. This is unsalted butter. I'm turning my burner on medium. Then we want 1/2 teaspoon of salt. This is Redmond real salt. So that's 1/2 teaspoon. And then finally, just 1 cup of sugar. You do not want metal in here, either silicone or wooden. It's best if you can use like a wooden spoon. Once this butter starts melting, you've got to be careful not like sloshing. Ooh, I've made a mess. Okay, it's 12:08, so we're going to see how long it takes to get this done. While we're waiting on this sugar to start melting and come up to temperature, I want to tell you that the recipe calls for 1 cup of nuts, and that's either walnuts or almonds or pecans. A lot of people use pecans. It kind of just depends on what nut you like, but just roughly chopped. You can take the pecans and put them in the bottom of your buttered pan and then pour this on top, or some people like to let their toffee sit and then of course have their chocolate layer on top and then put the nuts on top of that. So really it's kind of up to you. I'm leaving the nuts out. But once this gets going and we reach our temperature, we're looking for a temperature of between 290 and 300. We'll take it off the burner, we'll add a teaspoon of vanilla, and then we'll pour it in our buttered pan and then let it sit. So the flatter the wooden spoon, the better, because you can kind of get in there and scrape your sugar a little bit better and release some of those air bubbles that's on the bottom. Knock down any bits of sugar that you see to keep it from forming like sugar crystals on the side. We've about got it all melted. Again, you want to scrape your pan as you're stirring pretty good. Just be careful and try not to slosh the sugar along the edge. Don't touch the bottom of your pan with your thermometer, and try to stir even when you're trying to get your temperature. Just try to stir around it if you can. Not sure if you can see that or not. There's like little white things floating on the top. If you see that, don't let that worry you or think that something's wrong. That's just the butter separating. Okay, from this point we're going to stir it just occasionally. You want to kind of keep your temperature to where it's a little bit more bubbly than that, but it's not like a completely rolling boil where it looks like it's about to boil over anything. You just kind of want a steady, slow boil. And it's starting to get there. I guess you could call it a steady, soft boil. I don't know. But about like that. Let's see, it's 12:20. We started, what I say, 12:08. Yep, that's about a good pace. You don't want it much faster than that. If it starts picking up speed, then turn it down a little bit. And of course, stir occasionally, kind of scrape the bottom. I know it's not ready yet because it's not even changed colors, but I just wanted to see where we're at temperature-wise. We are at almost 240, 239, 240. So we got just a little ways to go, not much longer. We're at 250, 251. You can see this is lightened up and air, you've got a lot more airy. Now, it should start turning brown here in just a little bit. Okay, we're at 273, so we're about there. Can you see on the camera that it's starting to turn brown now? It had went from yellow to almost white, and then now it's starting to look a little brown. It's starting to get to the point to where you have to really keep a good eye on it and make sure that you are stirring good. Because when it hits a certain spot, it starts going from kind of slow to super fast, and we're about at the fast stage. Okay, we're at 284. We're supposed to get between 290 and 300. I'm gonna turn my heat down just a little bit so I don't scorch it. I think we're getting about It almost looks like it's gonna roll. You know what I mean? Like a jelly type. Let's see. We're at 284, and I'm just kind of tilting it. I barely even have it on the burner because I don't want it to scorch on me. 286, 87, so we're almost there. I'm going to move my camera over and I'll meet you over there. Okay, we were at like 291. It may have even went up since then. But can you see that that is brown now? It's not white. And I'm going to show you this. Take you some cold water. Put you just a little bit in there, and then it pretty much immediately went to the bottom and made a ball, and I'll show you how it feels here in a second. That's your hard ball stage. So it said about a teaspoon of vanilla. Stir that up really good. Again, if you were doing nuts, you could have nuts laying in there. And then you can see it's just kind of, I don't know how to describe it. You just have to see. It's like it almost wants to move. You wouldn't move one area of it. It all wants to move. That kind of is one of my clues that it's done. It's 12:30, so I probably... Can you see that just like... You can just tell it's really thick. Oh, I did do something I wasn't supposed to do and I forgot. You're not supposed to scrape the bottom of your pan, but I did. Oops. So we will let this sit, and this is going to cool down, and it's going to get like a hard layer on the top. Then we're going to take a cup of chocolate chips and spread over top of it, cover it over with aluminum foil, and they should melt, and then you go back in and you kind of scrape them. But you got at least, it's almost there. You gotta be careful because it's really hot, but it's almost got that hard film over it. Now I wanted to show you this. You know what, when I wasn't ready, there it is. You see how that's a hard ball now? It's hot. Yeah, it's gonna be really crunchy when it cools down. Yeah, that's gonna set up nice. Okay, we'll come back in just a minute. All right, this is still hot, but it's starting to firm up, and it's starting to look a little bit dull. So when that dull looks gets a little bit more through the rest of this, I hope you can see what I'm talking about right there. Kind of changing colors, but when there's a little bit more of that dull look throughout, then I'll put a little bit, I'll put these chocolate chips on, because that's where it's harder at. All right, it's cooled down a little bit more. I'm gonna go ahead and see, it's not sinking. That's what you're looking for. You don't want the the chocolate to sink in it. You just want it to kind of lay there, and then it'll melt, and then we can spread it. I'm gonna take some aluminum foil and just kind of lay over top, and that will help hold the heat in and help that chocolate to melt. If you can find your small offset spatula, use it, but use what you got. And all you're gonna do, you're gonna give that a little time, about 3, 4, 5 minutes. It doesn't take real long for those chocolate chips to melt. And you're gonna spread them. Give it a real pretty top coating. Again, some people will put some nuts on top of that. I'm not putting nuts on mine. On mine, in mine, anywhere near mine. And that's it. You just have to let it cool completely and then pull it out. That's why it's best to use this parchment paper, because it makes it so much easier to get out. You lift it out. If I do right now, it's going to try to fold together because it's still hot. But you lift it out, you set it down, and then you cut it and put it in an airtight container. So it's not too hard. It's just that you have to stand with it, know the signs to look for, and try not to rush it, because if you rush it, then you're definitely going to burn it or scorch it. And don't let candy making discourage you. If this is, you know, if you're new at candy making, don't let it discourage you. Sometimes it just takes trial and error. Shoot, last year I made this twice, and both times I messed it up, so I didn't even put the video out last year. But I burn it. But a few years before that, I made it, and I made it fine. So it's just trial, error, and patience. That's the big key with candy making. But you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope that that has inspired you to make you some homemade butter toffee, English toffee. I think the difference is, I used to know the difference. Thinking butter toffee has a little bit more butter in it, but I might be wrong on that. I can't remember. But before I say goodbye, there's one important thing I about forgot to tell you. Do not put this in your refrigerator. You have to let it sit out on the countertop, even when it's cooling down. Let it sit out on the countertop. Break it up, put it in an airtight container, but leave it out on the countertop. You put this in the refrigerator, the condensation will kind of mess with this type of toffee, this type of candy, any kind of toffee type candy. The condensation of the refrigerator messes with it, so do not put it in your refrigerator. Okay. I pulled this out of the pan, so it's pretty much hard now. And I wasn't thinking when I told you a minute ago, you can put it in the refrigerator long enough to let that chocolate get cold, because it's gonna be hard trying to get cold if you don't. So put it in there long enough to get the chocolate cold, and then get it out, and then don't store it in the refrigerator. So sorry about that. I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator and let that get cold, and then we'll break it up and put it in our container, and we're done with this one. I actually stuck that in the freezer for probably about 15 minutes. So then you just cut it in whatever size pieces you want. I did forget how thick it was. It's kind of hard to chew through when it's that thick, so I don't know why I wasn't thinking. But if you don't want it that thick, put it in a 9 by 13 pan. I think the next time I make it's what I'm going to do. But it is still so good. If you like toffee or caramel, anything like that, that is so good. So, not much better than an English toffee. Right, Snowflake? Well, that's the end of the video, so I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your day, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. Hey, if you like this video, you may like my last Christmas video or even last year's Christmas series.